Hello you guys, today I'm sharing my beginner's guide to Disney transportation. Getting around Disney World is a lot, and especially if you're going for the first time, or even if you've been and you just need some tips and tricks, you're gonna wanna stick around for today's video.
Hello, my name is Ashley and I share tips, tricks, and hacks for taking toddlers to Disney, Disney planning tips, and our Disney vlog adventures along the way. Subscribe for more and like the video if you enjoy a little dose of Disney at home.
So you may have heard the fun fact that Disney World is actually the same size as the city of San Francisco and twice, yes, twice as big as the city of Manhattan. So with that being said, you can already think, okay, it's kind of complicated to get around those places. It's probably complicated to get around Disney World. So I'm going to need some knowledge. Well, we're going to be talking about all of the different modes of transportation that are available within Disney World, how to find exactly what's available for you at your resort, and I hope you're going to leave this video a little more prepared and a little more empowered for your Disney transportation journey and getting around Disney World on your upcoming vacation. So let's jump in to the first one. Before you can go just jump on some mode of Disney transportation, you need to know what transportation is actually available to you at the park, resort, wherever that you are. So specifically, we're going to focus on the resort that you're staying at. I assume for a lot of people, you stay on site, you stay in the Disney bubble, and that is how you need to use Disney transportation. So the tip for finding out exactly what is available to you at your Disney resort is to go to the Disney World website. I'm going to pull it up here so you can see it on the screen. I know screen recordings are so helpful, but go here and then up in that little magnifying glass, the little search bar, you're going to click there and then type in your Disney resort, whatever resort that you're staying at. You can type that in, and then over on the side tab there where it says amenities, you're just going to tap on that or click on it if you're on a computer, and then you can scroll through and see, like say here at the Contemporary Resort, you have the option of buses, boats, monorails. You have a little bit of everything available there. Now, if we jump over to say one of the All-Stars, we'll go to All-Star Music here. The only thing available at this resort is just simply buses. So knowing what is available to you is very critical. This will also go into how you pick your resort, is knowing that, but that's a topic for another video. Then you're gonna wanna stay till the end with my best tip for getting to those tricky little character meals at some of the resorts. But first, let's talk about buses. So Disney bus transportation is actually one of the most popular and most used modes of transportation at Disney World to and from the resorts. A lot of the resorts offer this a lot more than offer, say, Monorail, Skyliner, things like that. So if you're staying at a Disney resort, you're highly likely to get on a Disney bus at some point. Well, one good thing to know about the Disney resort buses is that they run approximately, and I say that loosely, approximately every 20 minutes. Now, Disney loves to use that little word approximately to kind of cover their bums, as we're gonna say. Because yes, while the buses do run approximately every 20 minutes at most resorts, not all of them do run every single 20 minutes like clockwork. Sometimes they're faster, which is awesome and a good thing. If you're waiting, you don't want to have to wait a full 20 minutes. If they come in 10 minutes, then hey, that's even better. You've had to wait less time and you can get onto the parks. But there are definitely times when you're going to wait even longer than 20 minutes. On our most recent stay, just to give a good real life example, we were staying at Riviera, which is not an all-star. We're not talking all-stars here, people. We are talking Riviera, one of the newest, nicest deluxe Disney resorts, DVC resorts that you can actually stay at. So yeah, this is one of those examples. But we actually waited on multiple occasions, over 30 minutes, closer to 40 minutes for a Magic Kingdom bus. Yes, at a resort like that. Because you always hear the horror stories of, oh, I had to wait forever and ever for a bus at the All-Stars. And that's the value resort. And people think, oh, well, it's value, so you're going to get less of a quality product. That's not necessarily going to just be negated with spending more money on your resort. So wanted to share that little side rant there, that just because you spend money to stay at this really, really nice resort doesn't mean you're not going to wait for transportation. So just keep that in mind. Sometimes it can take longer, sometimes it can take shorter, but Disney buses will come eventually. The Disney website states that buses begin running 45 minutes before park opening, but we have definitely seen that be closer to 60 minutes or even earlier. So definitely, if you can get there early, do that. The early bird gets the worm, the early bird catches the bus. So highly recommend doing that. And then when it comes to after park closing, then the buses will stop running 1 hour after park closing. So say Magic Kingdom closes down at 11 o'clock at night, the buses will stop running at midnight. I will say though, as soon as the park park shuts down, don't just go running straight out of the gates and hit to the bus stop. You are going to see some of the worst lines for transportation that you've seen probably all day long at that time. So stroll down Main Street, go into a gift shop, have a snack. If you're in a different park, just take in some of the atmosphere and enjoy it. Let some of the crowds go on out, leave the park. The gift shops are usually open. You might can have grabbed a snack right before park closing, and restaurants completely closed. So whatever it is that you are into, or if you just want a break and you want to enjoy where you are, whatever that looks like for you, do that. Let some of the crowds clear out. That is one of our fail-safe ways of not having to be on a crazy crowded bus, is don't just join in the mass exodus of people leaving the park all at the same time at park closing. Jumping back to waiting for a bus, at a lot of the bus stops now, they have added in these TV monitors that will actually tell you the estimated time for the bus's arrival. Now, don't take this as the gospel. Again, I have seen them arrive early and I've seen them come late. So definitely take that with a grain of salt. It is not the gospel, so don't take it as such, but it can definitely help you know an estimated wait time, especially if you're like us, you have toddlers and you want to know, all right, how much time do we have to kill here? What do we need to do? What kind of entertainment do we need to pull out? Do we need to grab the bubble wand? Whatever needs to happen, that is really helpful. Or inside of the My Disney Experience app, if you go over to your resort, there is a tab there that you can see, and it will actually pull up the bus times. So definitely check and kind of play around in that section and see what it says. I know even we use this at especially Old Key West, where it's one of those resorts with multiple bus stops. And so it gave an idea as to which bus stop we were at, and then we would know when they were going to be picking up there. So it is definitely helpful. So definitely check the My Disney Experience app, or look for those TV monitors when you show up to the bus stop. Now, if you are traveling to Disney World and you are taking a stroller for your child, which I highly recommend doing. It is a lot of walking for adults and we get tired, so can you imagine little legs and all the walking that they are definitely not used to. So I digress. Take the stroller. When it comes to riding the Disney buses, you will need to take your child out of the stroller, and also you need to know if you need to take your bags out of the stroller. I know with some of them, we have a stroller where we can leave a few things kind of tucked into the basket and it just closes right up with it, no problem, no harm, no foul. But then some strollers, you do need to take literally everything out. So kind of have a game plan for that. At the end of this video, I will have a link to my stroller setup video and how we do that and get ready to get on and off the Disney buses and everything. But you definitely want to have a game plan for that. And once you get there, start kind of assembling things, grabbing any bags, if you need to take the diaper bag off the stroller hooks. So however you do your stroller setup, go ahead and get that ready. And when the bus shows up, you are ready to hop right on. And then for those that use wheelchairs or electric wheelchairs, there are actually special lanes for you at the bus stop. So you'll want to make sure you're in the correct lane, because Disney buses will actually load the wheelchairs and electric wheelchairs first. So you guys will be the first ones on, and there are usually between 2 to 3 depending on the bus, the age of the bus, lots of factors, but depending on the bus, they can hold between 2 and 3 wheelchairs. So you guys will be loaded in first and all secured, and then once you get to your destination and everyone disembarks the bus, you will be the last one off, obviously, because of maneuvering things around, and it's kind of hard to do with a lot of people. So that is how that all works. Once you and your wheelchair are loaded into the bus, then your family can join you and grab some seats, and then they'll let the rest of the guests on and after that. Next up, we're going to talk about the Skyliner, which is amazing, and unlike the buses, actually is continuously moving once it opens, unless weather causes it to close, which in that case, it's windy, it's raining, it may be lightning, it's just a normal Florida thunderstorm, and in which case you probably don't want to be on it anyway, or at least I personally do not want to be on that thing. Can you imagine swaying like this in a Skyliner? Yeah, I don't think so. I would rather not. But when it comes to that, you aren't waiting too long. It's just however long it takes people to load onto it, and however long the Skyliner is. They can get a line to them, but a lot of times the bark is worse than its bite, basically. So you may see this super long line for the Skyliner, but it will move rather quickly, again, because it is continuously moving. A lot of times if you do see a line, you won't get your own Skyliner car, basically. A lot of times they'll put just one single family into a car and everything will be keeping on moving if there's not a huge line. Now, when there is, you may be grouped with other families, other parties, and so just keep that in mind, that you may have some bonus friends on your Skyliner little ride, but it is definitely one of those, it keeps moving, so don't be too afraid of the Skyliner with that. When it comes to strollers on the Skyliner, now I had always heard the tip that you can just push your stroller right on to the Skyliner, and that's half true. So when it comes to pushing your stroller on, if you have a single stroller or a stadium seated kind of inline stroller, like an Up a Baby Vista, a City Cruise, something like that, then those will just push straight on, no problem. You just push right on and then you stop. Like you kind of have to move a little fast. I'll insert some footage so you guys can see that, but you can make it on without having to take your kids out. If they're sleeping, you've been strolling around and eating and drinking around Epcot and you want to go back to your resort, you just push straight on, no biggie. You don't have to take sleeping kids out. Like, it's not a thing. But here's the catch. If you have a side-by-side stroller, so a double wide or whatever you want to call it, you will have to take your kids, sleeping bags, everything, whatever, out of the stroller and collapse it to get on the Skyliner. So that's where it's half true, is depending on the stroller, you can push it on, but that is one of those cases where you will definitely want to think through your stroller choice depending on which resort you are staying at. So just something to keep in mind when selecting a travel stroller, or selecting even which stroller, if you're like us and you have both styles, depending on the resort you're staying at, may dictate which one you want to take for the trip. And then for those in wheelchairs or electric wheelchairs, the Skyliner is again really compatible for that. It actually even has, again, its own little line for that. And so you can get into a different line than the traditional line, and they will load you and your entire party up into the Skyliner. The traditional line keeps moving, and the Skyliner, they have their own extra little track that they come down. It's hard to explain, but once you see it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But it kind of comes down to the side, and then it loads in the wheelchairs and the ECVs. And it's really, really nice. So if I know some people are a little sensitive to that, they don't want to draw a lot of attention to it, or they feel just a little uncomfortable, self-conscious about that for whatever reason. And so for those that do, it's not stopping the line. You're not holding up progress or anything. You don't have this group of people staring at you if that makes you feel uncomfortable. You're just in a separate little line, and it just kind of joins in the Skyliner route. It's, like I said, it's really hard to explain, but I wanted to mention that for anyone that kind of has a little bit of concern or worry about that, so that you can kind of be put to ease of like, okay, there's a special spot, I can just go there and they'll help me load up. And the cast members are lovely to point you in the right direction, and so helpful. Now jumping over to the monorails. Now with this one, it is again kind of like the Skyliner and is continuously moving. Now there's not one every few seconds that you can jump in, but they do come within a couple of minutes. So there are multiple monorails running at the same time, and they hold a lot of people. So they are definitely the highway in the sky and getting things through a lot faster. So highly recommend the monorail. Now when it comes to those of you with strollers, again, we've got to talk about this because transportation and strollers are a big deal. Now, I know a lot of my friends at Disneyland are like, what in the world are you talking about? We just walk from park to park. It's not that easy at Disney World. We have to know how to get around. So that's why I always talk about strollers and transportation. But I digress again. When you are at the monorail and you're wanting to get on with your stroller, both the single inline, single strollers, whatever, one kid type strollers, or the double wide strollers can easily be pushed onto the monorail. Now you will have to kind of lean it back just a little bit to get those front tires up on it, wheel it in, and then kind of raise the back ones in, but it's super easy. Even me as a little 5'3", like I'm not bench pressing anything. I am not a strong man or anything like that. I am not a Hulk. I can do this very easily with both of my girls in the stroller. And so no problem. So don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. It's super easy to get your stroller up and into the monorail cars. So nothing to worry about, but it is one thing to note. You won't just drive right on, if that makes sense. Another thing, if you have a stroller, I highly recommend don't just like jump in the first little kind of car row that you can. Go all the way to the end. Like just keep walking. Keep walking. You will end up with a lot more room to get your stroller on, especially if there are already other guests on there. You're more likely to find an open car, or you might even luck out and get your own car, depending on the time of day. So highly recommend that. And then for those of you in or traveling with a wheelchair or ECV, then you will actually kind of go with the cast member. They'll grab a ramp and will help go down through there and find an open car with enough space to get you in that doesn't already have a wheelchair in it or a stroller or something like that, and that is room and capable of handling the wheelchair. And they actually just have a ramp that they grab, and they will set it up there so that you're not having to like try to like do any sort of crazy stunts in your wheelchair, they will just push you right in, no problem. And it's very, very handicap accessible. And so you don't have to worry about skipping out on the fun monorail ride if you are in an ECV or wheelchair, have someone in that. It's very handicap accessible, so you are good to go. The next mode of transportation we're going to chat about are boats. Now, they have different options depending on where you are. There are boats at Magic Kingdom, there are boats at Epcot and Hollywood Studios, and so various options for water taxis and water transportation at Disney World Resort. And so here are a few things to keep in mind with, again, strollers and wheelchairs. So for my fellow stroller parents, a lot of times the boats with the red flags and the green flags, you will actually be able to just push your stroller right on to the boat. And so that makes it really easy. You're not having to take the kids out. You're not having to collapse it. So that is really convenient. But again, this can sometimes change depending on how full the boat is. So be sure to ask your boat captain if they have room for that. If there are wheelchairs or electric wheelchairs in those spaces already, they may ask you to take your kids out of the stroller and collapse it down to be able to get you onto the boat if you don't want to have to wait for another one. So just something to keep in mind, especially with those boats that have multiple stops, but that is an option. So you may luck out and be able to push that stroller straight on, which is really, really handy. But just know that mileage can vary depending on how full the boat is. Now, the boats with the blue and gold flags, you will actually have to take your kids out and collapse the stroller for that one. So just note, and if you see one of those coming, kind of be prepared and have that ready. And then again, when it comes to those with wheelchairs or ECVs, depending on the boat and depending on how full it is, again, will be if you can get on the boat at that time. And then whether you have a stroller or a wheelchair, it's always good if you have any questions about what you need to do, how you need to board or disembark the boat, then always ask the boat captain. They are more than happy to help you out and point you in the right direction. And the last mode of transportation we're going to talk about are minivans. Now, while the rest of the modes of transportation we've discussed have been completely free for you to use, the minivans come at a price tag. And depending on the time of day and how many people are requesting minivans on that kind of floating scale pricing that they have with the Lyft app, it can get rather pricey. So it's something to keep in mind. It is convenient, but you also have to know that it is going to come at a cost. So when it comes to the minivans, they actually hold up to 6 different passengers, which is amazing. And they have a standard option, which is a minivan. It's usually a Chevy Traverse or Suburban. And then they also have an accessible option. So it does have an accessible van with a wheelchair ramp and everything. So depending on what mode, be sure to select the correct type that you need. That way you can get the right type of transportation that your party needs at the time. So want to be sure to mention that. Just be sure to check the Lyft app. There are multiple options for minivans now. It's not just one standard one. So always select the right one. And for those of you that are like me and traveling around with little ones that are car seat age, it is really helpful to know that the minivans already come equipped with 2 convertible car seats. So if you are wanting to use a mode of transportation, it's a little bit safer than the traditional Uber or Lyft. And I know I'll get comments about, well, there's Uber car seat. Yes, there is Uber car seat, but in the rules of Uber, those car seats are rated for children 2 and above. There are definitely workarounds if you want to book it, and then once you get paired with a driver, call the driver and ask if they have a car seat that is rated for someone less than 2. That's totally up to you. You are the parent, you're making the judgment call. But I just want you armed with the knowledge that those car seats aren't usually rated, and if you do rock up with a 1-year-old and this car seat's rated for a 2-year-old and the driver just doesn't feel comfortable driving and transporting your family, they can say no and leave you on the curb. So just want to share that for anyone before you get into that kind of situation and you're left standing there waiting even longer for more transportation. So, but back to the minivans, they are really, really great. They do come with the 2 convertible car seats, lots of room, cell phone chargers in there for you to charge your phone. Now they're actually starting to even play Disney cartoons in there that are like special shorts and things for those taking minivans. So it's a really cool option, especially if you have those early morning or just anytime special character meals at a separate resort and you don't want to have to do the kind of bouncing around of transportation. You want to do that little splurgy transportation in the minivan. It is definitely an option. We absolutely love it and have enjoyed every single minivan ride that we've had, and it is very, very convenient, but it does come at a price tag, so factor that into your budget. Now we're going to chat about getting to those fun character meals at resorts. Not talking about the ones in the parks when you're already there. These are at a different resort where you're having to go from one resort to another. Now, Disney buses don't go from resort to resort. So if you're, say, going to Riviera for Topolino's or Chef Mickey's over at Contemporary, you can't just go and get on a Contemporary bus from, say, All-Star Movies or at, say, Riviera going straight to Contemporary. That's just not an option. But you can do a little jumping around and it will be able to use the free transportation. So you don't want to have to spend the money on an Uber or a minivan. You can get there, but you have to know exactly what to do. Now I'm going to share it with you. So the first thing that we like to do is go straight to the bus stop and whatever park is closest to us. So whether you need to ask a cast member that information or you just pull it up on Google Maps and you kind of see which one is closest to you, then you can do that. Knowing what resort area you're in can help with that. So if you're in the Magic Kingdom resort area or Epcot resort area, going to the closest park is very helpful for that. And then you can just transfer buses. So say you are staying at Contemporary and you want to go to Riviera. What you would do is walk from the Contemporary over to Magic Kingdom and go to the Magic Kingdom bus stop. You'll be able to look at the sign there and it will show you exactly where the Riviera bus stop is. You can go there and go straight to Riviera. Now the exception to this rule is if you are wanting to go to Boardwalk, Beach Club, Yacht Club, Swan and Dolphin, or over to Riviera, you're wanting to kind of take the Skyliner to those, you will want to go to Hollywood Studios. Don't go to Epcot. I repeat, do not go to Epcot. I cannot tell you how many people I've heard made this mistake of taking a bus to Epcot. Now, here's the deal. If you are at Epcot and it is bright shining blue sky day, they will not be running buses to Boardwalk or Beach Club or Yacht Club because they are there. And sometimes they won't even be running buses to Riviera because you have the option of the Skyliner. So you cannot access the Skyliner or the boats from the main entrance of Epcot. You cannot do that. So just know that and don't make that mistake of having to waste a park ticket and try to get a reservation and hope there's a reservation to literally spend a couple $100s to walk through a park when you're going somewhere else and you didn't even plan on going to Epcot that day. So I hope that makes sense. Disney transportation can be a bit confusing, but it's something to keep in mind. Now, if it's raining, then sometimes there are buses to those respective resorts because you can't take the boat, if maybe down, or you can't take the Skyliner because again, rain and wind and everything. So moral of the story is if you're going to any of those Boardwalk, Beach Club, Yacht Club, going over to Riviera, always go to Hollywood Studios and then either transfer buses or get on the Skyliner or get on the boat from there. Any of those options. We love taking the Skyliner and the boats are so relaxing. So whatever mode of transportation floats your boat basically, but those are some of our favorites there, and it's a lot easier and you don't have to go into the park to access transportation. But I hope this has you prepared for Disney transportation and helps you avoid some of those common first-timer mistakes. That way you seem like a Disney vet from the beginning. But if you want to see that video that I was talking about earlier about my stroller setup, you can click on the playlist right over here. I have a couple of different styles. And if you're going to Disney and you are completely stressed about how to use Genie Plus, you don't know how to work it, then you're going to want to check this video out over here. And I will see you guys in one of these. But thank you again for watching. Bye, you guys.